Hi everyone, it's Keenan here, and today we are taking a look at the Orion 3000 P03 630, a machine that's great for jumping into PC gaming or content creation, but taking it seriously. A compact design with a chassis that is significantly smaller than your typical gaming PC. This tower is 18 litres in volume, whereas your typical one, you're looking at around 45 litres, give or take. Bigger than your next-gen consoles, they're around 7 litres, but you would come to expect that considering the power gap between them. And this one we call a strong mid-tier PC. What that means is it comes in at a great price point for the power you'll get. The cutting edge of PC gaming can get expensive, whereas this one will launch you into true next-gen PC, but be worth every penny. So a great starter PC to play current games on, with the possibility to upgrade further down the line. This build looks smart when powered off. The clean jet black trim would look juicy on any computer desk. And when powered on, the RGB lighting looks fierce. You can customize these lights using the Predator Sense app, but we'll get onto that later. First, let's take a little gander at the specs. The specs list we have here is all in a theme of the newest generation of parts, but with a consideration to cost efficiency. This will get you running modern games really well at 1440p resolution or lower, especially on a high refresh rate monitor. It will perform very respectably with the elite tier single player games at 4K, but where it really shines is those most popular multiplayer games on the planet. So of course, we did a few tests. We played Warzone, Apex, CSGO, and Fortnite. We tested at 4K to utilize technologies like the Nvidia DLSS, and then we tested at 1080p with more optimized settings to get a more complete performance picture. On Warzone, with 4K and all the best settings and DLSS on Ultra mode, we're getting around 100 to 110 frames per second, which is sweet. And then we put everything down with 1080p and more optimized settings, we're getting 120 plus. On Apex, with 4K, we're getting around 90 frames per second, but with 1080p, we're getting 143 frames per second rock solid. And for that game, that is great. With CSGO being an older title, you will expect more frames, which is exactly what we got. With 4K, we're getting 200 plus frames per second, and with 1080p, over 350. And finally, with Fortnite, at 4K, we're getting around 110 frames per second, and that is with DLSS on performance mode. At 1080p, it was a bit variable, so we locked it at 240 frames per second. It did dip here and there, but it looked fantastic. For competitive games especially, you want real performance. With cross-gen play today, you can gain a serious competitive advantage when on a real gaming rig, when some of these players are out here on mobile devices. It's no contest really. But even PC to PC, it is a must-have to have an uncompromising frame rate so you're not at a competitive disadvantage. Most competitive players scale down the settings of their games for this reason, but with a strong mid-tier PC, you can compete with the visuals, so you're not setting everything to blurry pixels like you're playing Fortnite on a console from 2002. As for other games, although you shouldn't expect max PC settings, you'll gain a sizable boost of performance in comparison to even the next-gen consoles. These parts are simply better than anything you can get in the consoles today, so any game will be a jump or two ahead than a console experience. With high-end components, you need cooling to optimize their performance. With the Orion 3000, it has two custom Frostblade fans, which produce around 35% more directed airflow than your typical chassis fans. With the Predator Sense app, you can adjust the performance of your fans, which helps when you get into overclocking your machine. Also, you can sync the RGB with the visuals on your screen or the music you're listening to, if you're so inclined. At the end here, I'd say the Orion 3000 would be perfect for your entry into serious PC gaming or as a gift for someone who wants to jump in. Competitive performance and needs an attractive form factor, an easy carry handle, and accessible ports make it very user-friendly and desirable to the right person.
Hey guys, so what I have in front of me today is the Predator X27 and the Orion 9000. I'm going to go over my thoughts on them today, but let's start off with the Predator X27. So what I have in front of me is the ultimate gaming monitor. The screen is 144 Hz with a full 4K resolution and high dynamic range capability, which make it a fantastic display. It's all set on a 27-inch monitor, so if you're looking for a device to really showcase your gaming, the landscapes and everything that comes with it, then this is the monitor for you. The price for this comes in at £2,200, which is really down to the high specification, but it's because of this it has an overall exceptional performance. The response time is really very quick, and the overall colour reproduction and colour contrast is fantastic. So not even just for gaming, but for daily tasks like viewing photos and video editing and watching films, it's really quite enjoyable. And the design itself really is quite stunning. It has a thin aluminium base and a very sleek design, which coupled with the functionality of the rotation mechanism of the monitor, make it a great display. And of course, not forgetting the classic Predator lighting at the back on the ventilation grille. On the back also, you'll find the control buttons, which are used for things like overclocking and general display settings. But now, let's talk about what I really want to talk about, and that's the Orion 9000. I'm also going to be playing some games using all of this setup, so stay tuned for that at the end. So what I have next to me is the Orion 9000, and this thing is a beast of a PC, both on the inside and out. But let's talk about the outside first, because just look at it, this thing's bigger than I am. Even comes with its own wheels. The whole vibe is kind of space age. It has easily removable panels, illuminated fans, and customizable RGB lighting at the front. When you finish looking at the pretty lights, you might also notice at the front there's a hidden desk drive, a retractable headphone stand, and a turbo button which will automatically overclock the processor. So let's get into the specifications. This Orion 9000 comes with an 8th gen Core i7 processor, a GTX 1080 Ti graphics card, and 64GB of RAM. But there are also options to go with an i9 processor and RTX 2080 card. Whichever the model in the range, it has an undeniable gaming power. It's going to push games to their limits, even for the most demanding of gamers. The tower has its own cooling system, the Ice Tunnel 2.0, which has 4 distinct thermal regions. What it does by this is separates the power from the GPU and the CPU, which will both be cooled separately. And just to remember, the specifications will vary depending on the model. Anyway, that's enough talking for now. So let's try these things out and play some games. So this right here is the Nitro N50 desktop. It's a sleek and compact gaming tower that still packs power. It comes with up to 10th gen Intel Core processors and Nvidia's GTX graphics cards, and it's ideal for anyone who wants a solid gaming performance that they can rely on in full HD. And it also has enough power to edit, design and stream too. The best part about it is it starts from just £699. Let's get into the video. So let's talk about the look of it first, because it has this like smooth tapered design that I really like. It's not too chunky or boxy. It definitely looks like it could fit into any kind of desk or gaming space you have at home. And considering the size of it too, it definitely could. It measures in at a mere 33 by 34 centimeters, which is, it's compact, okay? That's the way I describe it. The main frame of it is made of metal, which is really great to see for this kind of price tag. And at the top here, you also have this like brush metal effect, which looks really smart. At the front here, you have a few kind of gamery aesthetics with the red accents on the vents and these like really sharp looking red LEDs at the front, which look nice. It makes it feel like a gaming PC, but not too in your face gaming PC. Do you know what I mean? So let's talk about the specs. In terms of the base specs for the N50, we have either AMD's Ryzen 5 or a 9th gen Intel Core i3 processor, and that's coupled with Nvidia's GeForce GTX 1650 graphics card. Both of those models priced at £699, which is super affordable for a gaming PC. Now, the top end specs for the N50 is a 10th gen Intel Core i7 processor, so really powerful stuff, and Nvidia's GeForce GTX 1660 supercard, which has fantastic in-game performance, but I'll get more into that later. And that model prices at just over £1,000. So in terms of price difference in between the base and the top specs, there's actually not that much difference in between the models, and you can see where your money is going towards a higher end CPU and GPU and also more SSD too. And in between that bracket of the base model and the top model, there's a lot of different variations in between, so you can really suit what you need out of a gaming PC and your budget, whether you want a higher CPU, GPU, or just more SSD storage. Also, it's worth noting that the N50 recently had a refresh in its design and also in its specs. It now has 10th gen CPUs throughout the range and features Nvidia's supercards, all set in a snazzy new design. So if you're wondering which model is for you, in terms of processing power, if we compare the base model i3 processor against the top-end i7 processor, well, your i3 processor is more for your day-to-day computing tasks and casual gaming, whereas your i7 processor is more for your intensive workloads, creative work, and any game you throw at it. Now, in terms of graphics cards, if we compare the gaming performance of the base model GTX 1650 against the top-end model GTX 1660 Super, the higher-end graphics card makes a world of difference for your frames per second, almost doubling the number in some cases for some games. So that's really up to you to decide, and it's dependent on what kind of games you play. So for shooters or for AAA games or for playing at a 1440p resolution, then the 1660 Super is a clear winner. However, if you play less GPU intensive games like CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege, Rocket League, then the 1650 is a better option, as you're already easily achieving over 100 frames per second in those games, so having the GTX 1660 Super really wouldn't make too much of a visible difference. It comes with 8GB of DDR4 RAM and 1TB of hard drive storage, so plenty of storage for all your documents and data. The only thing that really varies here is how much SSD storage it comes with. There's options not to have it at all, and then going all the way up to 512 gigabytes of SSD. Super fast storage, but also a little bit pricier. So if you go for the non-SSD option, the hard drive does come with 16 gigabytes of Intel Optane memory, which will boost your load speeds like an SSD would, however keeping the cost a little bit lower. Now at the back here we have 4 USB 2.0 Type A's, we have 2 USB 3.1 Type A's, we have our Ethernet port, we even have a Kensington lock slot, which is nice to see. And in terms of display ports, we have 3 display ports, 1 HDMI and 1 dual-link DVI-D connection. So there we have the Acer Nitro N50. This is your easy to use plug in and play kind of gaming desktop. One that can give you a solid and reliable gaming performance at 1080p and is still fast enough for your day-to-day tasks, creative work and streaming too. And all of it being set in this sleek little compact design that's both space and cost effective. I really like it. Anyway, let me know what you think of the N50 down below and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.